Foxtrot Bravo Bravo, pull up and go around.
Go around, Foxtrot Bravo Bravo.
Hey, Tower India, Echo Lima, downwind 13, touch and go.
India Echo Lima number 3, follow Cessna left base, turning 1 mile final.
India Echo Lima.
Foxtrot Bravo Bravo Tower, fly runway heading.
Fly runway heading, Foxtrot Bravo Bravo.
Charlie Zulu November, clear to land runway 13.
Charlie Zulu November, clear to land 13.
Zulu Sierra Alpha, change of plans, crossover midfield, join right downwind runway 13.
Zulu Sierra Alpha, crossover midfield, join the right downwind for 13.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Sim Air Flights, Dane Sim Air. Today we have a little bit different of a flight where you can see there's a different aircraft on the tarmac there that we're going to be flying. But before we talk about that aircraft, let me show you what we're going to be doing, because this is leg 5 of our great Fraser River run. So the last time we left off at the end of leg 4, we left off in the airport called Quesnel, in the town of Quesnel. And I will show you on a little nav map where we are and what we plan to do. So let's just get a little nav map up and running. So we are going to be flying. Let's just zoom out a little bit. We're going to be flying from Quesnel, which is where the aircraft is now, down the Fraser River. And we'll pick up this VOR, and we will make our destination into Williams Lake. So we'll just veer off of the river and go overland, not very far, to the VOR and do a straight in to runway 12 at Williams Lake. So that is our plan, and we are situated right here at Quesnel, and we will be using runway 13, which, if any of you watched leg 4, you will remember on leg 4 I picked up quite a bit of ice. I kind of started up around here, and it built up and built up and built up. So finally I was getting a little nervous, so instead of following the river, I came straight across the land and went right into runway 13, and by the time I landed, the aircraft had quite a bit of ice on it, and that was in the Icon A5, which normally I can do a pretty good landing, usually a butter landing, but on this landing it was pretty heavy, and of course I was nervous because of all the ice buildup, and my landing wasn't all that great, for those of you that might remember that. But anyway, so that's going to be the plan. So let's go back to the airplane and let's just talk a little bit about the airplane and what we're doing with it. So the FN-333 Riviera. This aircraft was designed back in 1952, the early part of 1952, by Fratelli Nardi, an Italian aircraft designer. And it was built, and it first saw service, I believe it was the 1st or the 5th of December of 1952. Only 29 were ever built. It's a great little amphibian aircraft. It's a 6-cylinder, 250 horsepower. It pushes along quite nicely at 140 cruise, but it's easy to get 160 out of it. So it's a nice aircraft, but I have a huge problem with landing. Taking off is a little tricky, but I've got that pretty much under control. I've had about 12 or 15 landings with it now. And it took me all of that to master the takeoff, and I haven't quite mastered the landing yet. I have watched many YouTube videos on it, and there are several YouTube producers that have said the same thing. The landing is very dicey. So because of its design, it tends to, okay, what I believe what it needs is you got these two top twin booms going back, supporting the two vertical stabilizers and the horizontal stabilizer. And it appears that this aircraft, maybe its center of gravity is off. I don't know, but I don't know what's causing it. But it seems like it needs a lot of air being pushed across the horizontal stabilizer to keep it stable. So in landing, I tend to keep about 25% power on the throttle, and I try to land at 80 knots, no lower than 75. Otherwise, if you don't do that, I find that the aircraft tends to porpoise. It goes up and down because there's no stability on that back horizontal stabilizer. It needs that air rushing across the back of it. The other problem with this aircraft, for taking off and for landing for that matter, is this the bottom tail, or the bottom boom. This basically supports the water rudder, which is right here. And I'm not sure how much flotation. I guess it gets a little bit of flotation from this boom coming back like this when it's in the water. But the problem with it, it's so low to the ground that if you take off and raise the nose too much, that boom will scrape along the ground. Likewise, when you're landing, if you flare, quite often that tail at the back will scrape along the ground, and then you're in trouble. So again, taking off, I tend to want 80 knots. It says in the manual 66 knots for rotation, but I find that to be too slow. So I go with 80 knots, and my takeoffs actually are quite good now, but my landings are still definitely not acceptable, and certainly not butter landings. They're hard landings. It's a strange looking aircraft. It kind of looks, the body of it, the fuselage part of it here, and the cabin. It seats 4 people, by the way, a total of 4, pilot and 3 other passengers. The body of it tends to look like a Republic CB. And the top of it, on the twin booms and the horizontal stabilizer, I'm sure you all can see what that looks like. To me, that looks like a Cessna 337 Skymaster. So it's kind of a different looking aircraft, but it does handle nicely in the air once you've taken off. So that being said, I don't want to waste any more time on this aircraft. I want to get into the panel, and into the cockpit, I should say, and start flying this thing. So let's get into the cockpit. Okay, let's get it started. We'll go through the checklist real quick. A startup checklist. I'm just going to remove the yoke for a minute. Let's get a better camera view. All right, parking brake is set right over here on the left. Okay, and water rudders are up. This is our water rudder switch right here. That's the water rudder switch right there. Water rudders are up. The floats are up. The floats are on the wingtip, by the way. I should have shown you that. These floats right here. Let's see. Show you how these floats. Well, I think the engine has to be running for the floats to come down, actually. So I can't show you that without the engine running. All right, so let's get back to our startup. Okay, master battery on. Cabin lights are on. Fuel selector, we better select our fuel. We'll just put it on the left tank. Okay. Let's close this door. I think I'll close this door and get things a little quieter outside. All right, continuing along here. Let's go to the engine start. So we need taxi lights on, nav lights on, beacon lights on, and we're going to put the panel lights on white. There's a red setting for nighttime, and there's a white for daytime. The turn coordinator. Now that's something that is different. You notice the turn coordinator is not on. It's electrically operated, and you actually have to turn the toggle switch on for the turn coordinator to function. All right, so we've done that. Okay, mixture full rich. Mixture full rich. Props full forward. Throttle 1/2 inch. Turn both mags on. Okay. Fuel pump needs to be on low. So turn that on low. And we can do an ignition start. We've got a good start. Okay, the fuel pump can go back to off. We need 1,000 to 1,200 RPM on the start, which we do have. I'm just going to, okay, now we need to turn, oh no, first of all we need to check oil pressure and temperature. So oil pressure is supposed to be less than 60 psi, which if you look here, this gauge gives that to you. It's at 36, and if we switch this gauge over to oil temperature, we have 98, and the oil temperature should be above 86. Cylinder head temperature should be above 302 by the time we go to take off. Right now that's building up, it's at 230, and the exhaust gases are at 550. That's all okay. So we're going to throttle back. It should come down to about 600 RPM. We're going to turn the radios on. Turn the radios on. And we will set our altitude, our barometer, based on the altitude of the airport. And that's set. That's okay. And the next thing we need to do is I'm going to tune the nav frequency to that VOR that we're going to use further down the river before we land at Williams Lake. And that, let me just look at the map, that frequency is 113.6. So we're going to tune that to 113.6. And we'll transfer that over. And we'll turn the comm radios on, not that we're actually going to use it, but I'll put it on CTAF frequency 12280. Switch that over. Alright, so the transponder should be set to 1200 VFR, which it now is, and we'll put it on altitude reporting. Okay, the DME gauge should be turned on so we can keep track of where that VOR is. It's telling us it's 56 nautical miles away, and that's all good. I'm going to do the run-up right here rather than at the end of the taxi strip, so I'll just do a quick run-up. Won't take long to do this. So we need 1700 RPM. We'll test the right mag. We shouldn't have more than 100 drop, which we do not. Test the left mag, and it's also good. We need to exercise the prop 3 times to get the oil moving. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we've got 3 times on the exercise. We want to cycle the flaps to make sure they work, and they're right here. You can do it incrementally, or you can just hold the switch down and it goes all the way. Goes to 45 degrees, and hold the switch coming back and it goes all the way back up. Let's check the controls. Those are all okay. Alright, that looks good. Throttle back to 600 RPM. Idle. And make our way out to runway. We're using runway 13. So I'm going to set the heading bug to 13. 130. There we are. We're taking off that way, so we need to go to the left. Okay, without any further ado, let's get this brute up in the air. Okay. Brakes have been released. Check the brakes, make sure they work. They do. Oh, the other problem with this aircraft, let me mention it to you for those who are thinking of purchasing it. And I would recommend it. It's just that the landing, it's going to take a while to get used to. Because it's only, I think it's only $12 US, so it's definitely worth every penny of that. But because this aircraft is the design that it is, it tends to be very top heavy. And I'll show you from a rear view when you're taxiing, if you turn too fast, it will want to tip over. Just watch what happens. See how it wants to tip over? Very, very easy to tip over. So taxiing has to be slow, especially going around corners. Taxiing has to be slow. Alright, let's make sure no one is coming in, which they are not. Let's taxi down to the threshold of runway 13. So for takeoff, I like about 5, 10, 15, 20 degrees of flaps for takeoff. Sometimes 25, but 20 seems to work quite nicely. The other thing I should do is turn the lights, the brightness up on the radios, because with the sun shining in like this, it's pretty hard to see the dials. Let me just get to the end here. Actually, it doesn't take much to take this thing off. It takes off fairly fast. Although with my change of mind now that I'm wanting 80 knots before liftoff, it takes a little bit longer maybe. So let's turn here, and again you have to turn slowly, otherwise she'll want to tip over. Yeah, she'll want to tip over. We've got a little bit of a right crosswind, not much. Okay, let's just hold right here for a moment. Just going to turn those radio lights up a little brighter. The instrument lights up a little brighter. And the panel floodlights, I like them to be brighter. Co-pilots as well. Okay, without any further ado. Oh, the other thing I found, by the way, the trim setting. Actually, it tells you this in the manual as well. I'll just move down here and show you. The trim setting, that's neutral right now, 0. And it says if you have 2 or more passengers or any baggage, you should set it to 10 degrees. So I turned my trim wheel back to, so it's at 10 degrees for liftoff. And I find that works really well. Now, I know I only have a dog in here, but he's 100 pounds, so 10 degrees it is for the trim. All right, I'm ready to go. Let's hope we have a good takeoff. Once we take off, we want to reduce power to 24 squared setting. Okay, we are rolling. Airspeed is coming alive. It's now at 40 knots. 45, 50 knots. 60 knots. This is where it says in the book to rotate, but I don't rotate here. I wait till we get to 80 knots, and then it tends to just want to go up on its own. We are now airborne, as you can see. I'm going to retract the gear. Look at the gear. Okay, we can retract the flaps. And we are officially on our way down the Fraser River. Let's quickly show you on a little nav map where we are and what we're doing. we are. We just took off from runway 13. We're at 2,500 feet, which I'm going to keep it there for a little while just to keep close to the water. It's a nice day for flying. I'm going to reduce power, RPM, and manifold pressure. There's the Great Fraser River. You can see how much wider it is than it was on the previous legs. Yeah, so we want 2,400 RPM and about 24 inches of mercury is what the book says. Yeah, she flies really nice. She flies gentle, smooth, easy to handle in the air. It's just that dreaded landing that's so difficult. I find landing on water a little bit easier than landing on land. So let's see what's happening down in this river. See if the salmon are running today. Fraser River is noted for its abundance of salmon and other fish, of course, but salmon is a big one. Now, because we spent so much time talking about the airplane back at the beginning, we're just going to make this a short leg. We will call it quits at Williams Lake. We won't go any further. And I should try a water landing. Let me show you how the floats work. So right now the floats are down, and you know why they're down? They're down because I had the lever down. That controls the floats. So I actually did a bad thing. I took off with the floats down on land. You're not supposed to do that. The floats are housed. See if I can get closer. Floats are housed right under this strap. Can't get the camera to cooperate with me. Right under this nav light strap. And when I lower the floats, you see what happens. It comes away from that strap and comes down. And when I lower the rudder, you'll see, let me lower the rudder just to show you. Put the rudder down, there it is coming down. But we don't land with the rudder down. We wait till we land and then we put the rudder down. Okay, so for water landing, we want the floats down. We want 15 to 30 degrees of flaps. Now I find 30 degrees to be much better than 15. So I'm going to put in 30 degrees of flaps right now. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And we want to make our approach at about 80 to 90 knots. But we want to actually touch down maybe at about 80 knots. So keep your fingers crossed and let's see how this works. So I've got props are full forward for landing. Power is right now at about 30% power. want to reduce my speed to about 80 knots. About 80 knots. Bring that speed down. There we are, that's 80 knots right there. Right now I'm at 25% power. You see that? The minute I gave it a little bit of up elevator, it wanted to porpoise up. I use the trim a lot for landing. Okay, here we go. Let's level the aircraft. We'll do a quick view outside once we land. Oh, there's that porpoising again. Okay, that was a good landing actually. No bouncing. Water rudder is still up. We should put the water rudder down. There she is. So landing on water isn't too bad. Now for takeoff, I'm going to raise the flaps up a bit. And by that porpoising, it's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Let's get the rudder up. Unbelievable. Okay, let's get the floats up. And retract the flaps. Okay, well, we're stable again anyway. Okay, let's think about the landing at Williams Lake. One thing I need to do is look up the VOR. Now the elevation for Williams Lake is 3,088 feet, so let's say 3,100 feet, so we do need to gain a little bit of altitude. And I'm going to, the VOR is tuned in, let's center it. Okay, so it's telling me that 130 degrees is take me directly to the VOR, but we're not necessarily going directly to the VOR. We're going to go along the water for a little bit and then gain some altitude because we've got some hills over here. They're about 3,100 feet, so we should get up to 35 or 4,000 just to be safe. Let's just move over to the right so we can see the river a little bit better. There's a lake over on our left we'll be passing by. It's called McLeese Lake. I don't know if we can see it. It's a little bit more inland. Yeah, we're too low. McLeese, the town of McLeese is on this highway right here. And the lake should be somewhere over here. A little bit too low. Tell you what we could do though, we could go over land now. We could fly directly to the VOR. In fact, why don't we we're at 4,000 feet now. Let's hold at 4,000 feet. And let's demonstrate the autopilot. So let's turn the autopilot on. Let's hold our altitude. And let's set it on nav. So it should hold us at 4,250. And it should take us right to the VOR. 18.8 nautical miles away. And in this direction, we should cross over McLeese Lake, which is right along Highway 97. I'll show you on the little nav map what I'm talking about. So there we are. We've left the lake. We're going overland. There's McLeese Lake right there. We're just going to go over that area and we're going to go right to this VOR, and then we'll take up a heading about 111 degrees to take us right into runway 12. So we should be seeing Highway 97 out of our left window right now, and there it is right there. It's Highway 97. So we are not lost. We are doing well. Highway 97 wraps around here. And McLeese Lake is right over there. You can't, there's not a good view of it right here. Let me do an outside. Outside view. No, can't really get a good view of it. But that's McLeese Lake right there. Looks like we're just going to trim the treetops of this hill right here. There's the part of the mighty Fraser down below us there. Now that Highway 97, which there it is right there, winding its way south, it goes right, the airport is to the left, just to the left of Highway 97. So, looks like we've got some haze over here, some cloud buildup going on over there. And we will terminate our flight at Williams Lake. And keep your fingers crossed that we have a landing that it will be acceptable. we shall see what happens. How much further? 10 nautical miles to the VOR. And then the VOR is, let's see, the VOR is only 4 nautical miles from the airport. So we got Highway 97 on the left and the Fraser River on the right, and we're scooting down between them. 4,200 feet. Autopilot is doing a good job of holding everything. So like I said, the actual flying of the aircraft is really great. It's the landing, and in some cases the takeoffs, but mainly the landing that messes my mind. So once we cross the VOR, once that needle swings, we will turn to 120 degrees. I'm going to set the heading bug to 120. So that's where we're going to be going. Right now we're heading about 128 maybe. We have 5.3 nautical miles to the VOR. And we're clocking along at 140 knots, which is the top cruise speed that's been published. But there's absolutely no problem if you really want to push it to 160. It still handles quite nicely. And by the way, I tried doing stalls in this aircraft, and a power on stall is no problem, but a power off stall, because there's no force of air going across the back of that horizontal stabilizer, it's very unstable, and it wants to do the porpoising and the turning, and because there's no power going over it. So I'm going to turn the autopilot off the moment we pass the VOR. We should see that needle swing. There, I'm hearing the Morse code. We got less than a mile to VOR. I'd say the VOR is probably located right there. Right there. So the moment that VOR swings, which it's swinging now, I'm going to turn off the autopilot. Autopilot is off. So I'm going to turn to 120 degrees. And start there. I'd say that's the airport right over there. It looks like it anyway. Alright, let's start getting slower. And let's move over so we can line up for approach to final. Oh, we've got some clouds right there. Flying VFR, you have to be 500 feet away from clouds. Let's reduce power. Okay, landing gear has to come down. Okay, I've triggered it to come down. We should get 3 greens. I'm going to put in 45 degrees of flap. There, we've got 3 greens. Landing gear is down. Let's get lined up with the runway. We're coming down to, remember, the elevation is approximately 3,100 feet. So we're at 35 right now. Don't want to go below that right here. Okay, and we are at 85 knots. I'm going to try and land it flat. I am not going to flare it, or at least try not to anyway. Alright, let's reduce some power to get our elevation down to about 3,200, which should be about 100 feet above the runway. It's stable on the approach, very stable. It's that landing that is a big problem. Okay, here we go. Keep your fingers crossed, everyone. Okay, we are at 80 knots, which is where I like to be. I am flat. I am not flaring. I'm hands-free, by the way. Hands are off the controls. Still at 80 knots. I'm just going to let it settle on its own. On its own. The other thing you'll notice when it landed, that was a beautiful landing, 121. Very seldom have I had a 121 landing. And you'll notice as I landed, the nose wheel was up and it pops down. You gotta kind of force it down. Let's just have a look at the statistics on that landing. 1.27 Gs, there were no bounces. Actually, I'm quite pleased with that. I'm very pleased with 121 with this aircraft. Very, very pleased. Alright, we need to turn around and get ourselves... See how it wanted to tip over on that turn? You gotta be careful. Okay, let's retract the flaps. Let's go through the after landing checklist. Taxi lights on, landing lights off. Pitot heat off. So there's the FN-333. And welcome to Williams Lake, British Columbia, 3,100 feet up in the Rockies. Did I miss the turn off the exit? You know what? I'm talking too much and I may have missed the... Oh no, the exit's way down at the end. Just looking at the little nav map. Yeah, actually I did miss it. There is an exit midway down the runway, but that's okay. We are here now. Alright, let's get into the parking spot. Park this aircraft and shut things down. So for $12, I do highly recommend it, but be prepared for frustration on your landings. Now maybe you guys are much better than I am at this, and maybe you won't have a problem, but I know there are many on YouTube that have the same problem that I have. And it was one person actually on YouTube that recommended to me that I landed flat. Don't flare it. Just come flat on the deck. I'm gonna park between this, looks like a TBM and a, not sure what that is on the left. There's not much room there, but that's okay. We'll just park right here. How's that? Okay, parking brakes are set. Let's finish off the checklist. Mixture back to lean to starve the engine. Propellers back. Throttle back. Fuel valve should be closed. Cabin lights turned off. Just move this yoke out of the way. Cabin lights turned off. Mags turned off. Taxi lights off. Nav lights off. Beacon lights off. And the master battery off, and everything is shut down. So, again, welcome to Williams Lake, and thank you again for flying with Simair Flights. I'm Dane Simair. We'll see you on the next go-around, which will be leg number 6. So until then, keep...
Foxtrot Bravo Bravo, pull up and go around.
Go around, Foxtrot Bravo Bravo.
Tower India, Echo Lima, downwind 13, touch and go.
India Echo Lima number 3, follow Cessna left base, turning 1 mile final.
India Echo Lima.
Foxtrot Bravo Bravo Tower, fly runway heading.
Fly runway heading, Foxtrot Bravo Bravo.
Charlie Zulu November, clear to land runway 13.
Charlie Zulu November, clear to land 13.
Zulu Sierra Alpha, change of plans, cross over midfield, join right downwind runway 13.
Zulu Sierra Alpha, cross over midfield, join the right downwind for 13.